Hey, Triple S members out there, how you doing? Welcome to another session of the Chow line. It's always great to have members on and discuss the different challenges that are going on out there right now and the opportunities of everyday sales and how are you dealing with them. And, this gives us an opportunity always to share different best practices, to share ideas and processes, and matter of fact, hopefully help us reduce any errors or challenges that we may have. So goal is to all improve our processes out there. But this week we're going to talk a little bit about, question is, are your sales rising? Are your sales dropping or slowing down? Is there opportunity out there? I believe that we all know that there's plenty of opportunity out there right now. The demand is very high. But as we talked about in the last couple of sessions, allocation is challenging. Matter of fact, we at Triple S saw a huge March. I think we were up 65, 70 something percent. And then just a tad down in April. And I'm seeing that a little bit here and there from what I hear from members. But today we're gonna focus on our discussion on opportunity. And matter of fact, weeks ago I was talking with Adam Musselman, and this is, I'll share with you, this is his program. He said this is our time, and I thought that was a great little title to this. Though things are challenging now, and we believe that COVID's, we believe actually that COVID's probably provided this industry an huge opportunity. And it's kind of a challenging as it is and dangerous it is. It's going to be a message that's going to be open for many of our users to hear and listen to. So today our special guest is Adam Musselman. He's lives in beautiful Montana. Avid sportsman, snowmobiler, mountain climber, skier, hunter, father of 3 young, beautiful kids. Mr. Musselman, president and CEO of Bruco out of Billings, Montana. Welcome.
Thank you, Kevin. Glad to be here.
I'm really excited to have you as always. It's an honor to have you. Maybe why don't you share with the Triple S members out there, a little bit about yourself, how you got involved with Jansan and how you ended up taking over your business there.
I was born and raised in Minnesota. Just always, as I, got into my teenage years, kind of had a fondness for Montana, for the West, for the mountains, and decided I wanted to move out here. Obviously, my uncle Ben and Joey started Bruco in 1978. I moved out here not knowing anything about their business, not having any interest in their business. But Ben was always kind of a role model just because, he seemed like a guy that had his stuff together and was pretty successful in a lot of ways. And moved out to Montana and just kind of, started working, doing things that I could. I sold cars, did some other stuff, and he was kind of always recruiting me. And in 2003, he had an opening that kind of made sense for me, so I went to work for Bruco. I spent 5 years out in the field as a DSR in Bozeman, Montana, which is about 2 hours west of our headquarters. So I was kind of on my own, learned the business, kind of the hard way, if you will. And just, after about 6 months, I kind of realized, hey, this is something that I can do pretty well. And, this is a good business. And so kind of worked my way up from there, and then bought the business from Ben 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago. And, I love it. I mean, it's very similar to what my dad and other family members did as far as a business back in Minnesota when I was growing up. And so I enjoyed it a lot.
It's great. So you really started from, sales on up, right? And then kind of grew into taking care of the operations and the overall business then. That, working together with you on the executive development program, one thing that I really noticed, which I really admire is really the attitude, kind of the attitude of, hey, moving forward, where are we going from here? I thought that one of the things that really drove me to kind of really navigate towards you was you were one of the first ones that said, hey, I want to be here, my business. And that was a big jump. You said you wanted to be a $20 million business, I believe, in X amount of years and so forth. And what I thought captured that was really the attitude. So when you talked with me the other few weeks ago, you said, hey, I'd really like to share about the opportunity. Tell me where that came from a little bit.
I don't know how I came across it, but it was the movie clip that I sent you and that we discussed. And I don't know if you're going to show it or not, but it's a movie clip from the movie Miracle. And it's the speech that Herb Brooks gives the hockey team right before the game with the Russians. And it's very poignant. I mean, he just is kind of no prisoners approach that this is our time and their time is over. And it was like, bam, that's exactly the situation we're in right now. And so, you know, I mean, as a Triple S distributor, as a distributor, you know, we see ourselves as a value-added distributor. You know, we try to take that consultative approach and have for years. And it's, you know, the stars are aligning right now to fit into what we've been trying to do. And I think many distributors have been trying to do for a long time, you know, and that is have high-level discussions about cleaning and disinfection and the outcomes that they can provide a business or organization. So
absolutely. You know, matter of fact, you know what, let's do this, Adam. Let's go ahead and show that video, okay? Because I think it'd be great to share with everybody. Perfect.
Okay.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. And that's what you have here tonight, boys. That's what you've earned here tonight. One game. If we played them 10 times, they might win 9. But not this game. Not tonight. Tonight, we skate with them. Tonight, we stay with them. And we shut them down because we can. Tonight, we are the greatest hockey team in the world. You were born to be hockey players. Every one of you. And you were meant to be here tonight. This is your time. Their time is done. It's over. I'm sick and tired of hearing about what a great hockey team the Soviets have. Screw them. This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
I tell you what, I love that piece. And matter of fact, every time I see it, it just gets me right there, you know. You know, and you said it earlier, you know, this is a great opportunity. It's that moment that he talks about. And really, you know, if you think about all of us individual Triple S members and distributors, we've earned this opportunity and it's our time. So share with me a little bit more about your thoughts there.
Well, I just, you know, that was kind of part of what, you know, aligned in my mind on the video was as he talks about the Russians and their time is over, I was just thinking of these logos, right? You know, the Staples, the Amazons, the Home Depots, the Grangers, the Cisco's, you name it, Fastenal. You know, in my mind, they're all imposters in our business, and they always have been. And that's just how that's just how I feel about it. I think they're going to be exposed over the next 90 to 180 days because the only thing they have to hang their hat on is supply chain and price. Two things that are totally irrelevant right now. I mean, supply chain's is relevant, but they're in the same boat we're in. They no longer have that advantage like they did, and price is not something that's motivating the customer right now, right? They want to know how to get the building clean, and so that's why when I saw that video, I was like, this is exactly the situation we're in as an industry. For years, you know, we've all experienced the toil and you know, you go in and work your butt off for an opportunity, it gets bid out and poof, it's gone and all that kind of stuff. And because of what's going on, I think there's going to be a lot more opportunity to not have things occur in that fashion. I think the buying process will change, at least in the short term, for a lot of end users and clients to favor somebody like, you know, a triple S distributor that can add more to the package than just getting stuff to the dock.
I think that you hit an important point there, and you're right. You know, we have the opportunity, and just like what Kurt Russell was saying, you know, as a coach there, you know, it's time for us to shut them down. We also still have to take the responsibility, you know, of communicating that in a way that's going to be different than just about price and product. As you said earlier, you guys go in and approach on a consultative basis, and I'll be honest with you, we still have a lot of us out there that's not necessarily doing that enough. And so
we're guilty too. I mean, we're not, you know, we try, but
yeah,
it doesn't always happen.
But it's Triple S members' time. It's definitely right. Triple S members' time right now, and it's up to us to go out there and get it. And so, you know, what I'd like to kind of get a feel for you is that how do you feel that we need to go to market differently? You know, Matt, you can go to the next slide there, but you know, you said something to me earlier the other day about, you know, we've got to change our calling approach. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's once again, it's something we've made an effort to do for many years, but it's not that we want to stop calling on the head of maintenance or the director of EVS or Joe the custodian. They're all important. But if we really want to help Joe the custodian or Susie the housekeeper, we need to make sure that the administrator or the owner or the CEO understands what they're trying to do and has their back. And that's always been a challenge. But, you know, right now, that is not nearly as high of a hurdle because, you know, cleaning and disinfection have kind of reached the point where those decisions about how we're going to clean and the policies associated with them is moving up the org chart rapidly. Mm-hmm. And now the CEO and the owner or the superintendent of the school wants to be in that conversation. And it's not about, you know, a bid or a spec or whatever. They don't want to hear about that. They want to hear about the outcome. They want to hear about the process. They want to hear about the frequency, the measurement, and so forth. And so we've got to adjust to have those conversations, to call up the ladder without totally abandoning the people that we've normally interacted with.
Absolutely, absolutely. But, you know, it's interesting that because I see that's one of the biggest challenges that I see out there with a lot of us. We're calling out maybe one or two different levels, but we got to call high, deep, and wide in every organization, right? You know, what do you believe is the biggest challenge? Why do you think that we haven't done that before?
It's just the comfort zone that we've been in. You know, our industry, I think, is generally slow to react to change. I mean, it's just the nature of our business. And for a lot of years, people made a lot of money just calling on the head custodian.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, that was a different world. That was when you had exclusivity with all of your lines. That was when Joe the custodian could write a check without anybody's permission. You know, and that's all changed over the last 20 years. But right now it's just coming to the point where it's reopening some opportunity with the decision makers that we've had trouble getting access to. But generally, I think it's just been a comfort zone of you know, most of the folks in our industry don't want to go to higher
Hey,
level.
just wanted to check in with you. I saw your email.
I think there's a voice. Matt, can we?
Yep, I got it. Sorry about
Thank
that.
you. Thank you. You know, so that's a good point, Adam. So what are you and Bruco doing to prepare your DSRs or to help them call at that higher level?
Well, we're trying to provide them with resources that can give them the tools for a business conversation about, or I should say, a business conversation that's, you know, based on and around the topic of cleaning and how cleaning impacts an organization or a business in a positive manner. And, you know, once again, in the last 60 days, the preparation needed to go talk to administrator is probably a little bit less because
Exactly.
they're just more willing to sit down and give us the time to visit about how we can help them. So, but the better prepared you are, the more long-term that relationship is going to be.
Right.
Because they're going to see, not only can you help me now, you could have helped me 5 years ago. I just didn't know it.
Yeah, matter of fact, as I stated before in our previous sessions, Ben Wagner and our sales team, Mike and Ray and Eric and Jim Q and I were working on this program called Partners in Protection, and we're going to introduce the basic concepts of it next week. We're going to have some verbiage that's going to be beneficial. That's going to hopefully provide you some of those tools that they'll be able to go in a very simple program to communicate differently at that C level or higher level for your DSRs there. Matter of fact, I think I shared with many of you guys out there before, you know, what you stated is true because in a podcast with Mark Cuban, you know, one of the things that he shared that all independent business owners should be doing now is learning more about cleaning and disinfecting and sanitizing. And coming from him, that just tells you where the mindset is for those high C-level business owners.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's really interesting. So tell me a little bit about what do you believe are going to be some of the expectations, you know, of your end users once they get back to work?
Well, I mean, I think everybody that goes to work in a building with other people, you know, in what we would call a public building, right? Not necessarily government, but just open to the public, whether they're somebody that's employed there, visiting there, or whatever, their expectations of cleaning and disinfection are going to be much more, I think they'll be more vocal about what their expectations are. I think there'll be more questions being asked, more maybe even demands being made, especially when you think about parents of students or children of elderly in a nursing home. You know, the sensitivity is going to be higher, and those types of concerns and questions are going to continue to reach, like we talked about, higher into the org chart. And right now, most administrators, business owners aren't prepared to answer those questions because they didn't really get involved with the cleaning program before. you know, it was kind of like, here's the keys, go clean the building, and you do a really nice job. Things look great, you know, and they weren't looking at it from a standpoint of preventing a pandemic, right? So, and you know, a lot of people say, well, this is overreaction. Well, maybe some of it is. I mean, I don't know. We don't know. Some of it could be, but all I know is I saw things in schools 10 years ago and in hospitals that scared the hell out of me, that I wouldn't want my kids, you know, being exposed to, or my parents, if they had to be in a rest home, exposed to. So, you know, some improvement was needed anyway. A lot of improvement was needed.
As a matter of fact, Ray Ranger was sharing statistics with us the other day about long-term health care, and he said in one location, one long-term health care facility, there was 71 deaths, you know, which is awful.
Yep.
It's terrible. And there was some bigger numbers on that too. Are there any things that you guys are doing at Bruco to help your guys become, quote, more experts and develop that partnership differently with your customers?
Well, you know, we're really trying to drill down on a reopening process. That, you know, I don't pretend that that's all figured out and pretty yet, but you know, I think especially for our clients, you know, for the customer, for the A account that's bought from Bruco for 30 years, you know, it's our responsibility to share with them, you know, processes and procedures and ways of opening up the building safely as it pertains to cleaning and disinfection. You know, defining what are the HTOs, what are the highly touch objects in this facility versus that facility. You know, how are we prepared to address those? And so really trying to get our guys comfortable with those types of conversations. Because I think, you know, like things are moving up the org chart. If we're going to engage the C-suite, they're going to have expectations like you've got on the slide right there, that they're dealing with a subject matter expert, that they're dealing with somebody that can help advise them on their overall business, and how cleaning impacts that. And so, you know, they're not going to want to see a floor demo. It's just not. So we can either prove ourselves in the next 6 months, or we can totally screw it up, right? Because we're going to get a chance to engage the owner, the CEO, or the superintendent over that time period. And they're either going to come out of that thinking we know what we're doing, or they're going to come out of it thinking these people are clowns. And, you know, obviously we know which side of that we want to be on.
I think you hit an important point there. I think it's really going to be up to each of us to change that message. If we're just going to go out and push products are part of it, right? Products and processes are a big part of it, but they have to understand why that's important. And I think they're willing to listen now. Matter of fact, it's interesting because I don't have them, I'm not going to be able to show them, but I'm going to share some. We did a survey with some end users. And the question was this: to what level do you agree the following statement? Following the COVID-19 pandemic, customers, guests, and other facility occupants will have a greater expectation for clean, healthy, safe facilities, and will evaluate visibly cleanliness, healthy, and safe facility. 68% said strongly agree, 28% said agree. So right there, that's 96%. Said that their expectations are going to be much higher when they actually enter into a facility. This was the one that's really, I thought was impactful here. It says here, if you expect, let me see here, excuse me for a second here. This is it. If you expect your distributor partner to provide assistance what are the most effective 2 or 3 ways for them to deliver necessary information? 49% said live on-site training, 29% said live remote training, and 38% said on-demand remote training. So you can see that there's a very high desire for end users to have special trainings going on for their facilities folks. And then this was kind of more the most telling one where I have it here. Excuse me. It says, oh, okay. I apologize here. A little screwed up. What is the, who do you expect? Okay, here it is. Who do you expect making sure that your facility is healthy and safe? And this was difference here. 45%, my distributor must be a partner who offers a full range of value-added programs and assistance. Okay. 42%, I expect my distributor to offer general assistance and expertise. Expect them to be proactive in introducing new services. So right there, that's 87% expecting us as distributors to be that partner to provide them those type of services. There was another that said a small percentage were looking for other experts, but we have to be the expert. And so that's where I think your comment about being the subject matter experts is real critical.
Yeah, no, that's how we see it as well. I mean, like I say, I think there's a limited window of opportunity to prove that we are, and we better be ready to capitalize on it. So.
Yeah, I think that we've probably got about 12 to 18 months, and then after that, people are going to forget about what happened.
Probably right.
Yeah. So, let's talk a little bit more about business side of it. Matt, you can go to the next slide, please. With all that's going on right now, you shared something also. You said, this has been kind of a reset for you in regards to your company and margins. What's going on there? Why are you feeling that the pricing is not as much of an issue?
Yeah, I mean, personally, we haven't changed any of our pricing, but we're typically, we're not known for the lowest price, right? That's not what we purport to provide. But I just think, I do know what the average margin is across our industry, and it's pretty low. And I think now is an opportunity for some of those distributors that typically operate at a low margin to not feel like they have to do that. It's because it's the decision, the motivation has changed. Now they want outcomes. Now they want clean buildings. Now they want safety. They want to prevent pandemics. They're not worried about what they spend on a quart of glass cleaner. Obviously you can't speak like every single person's not going to be focused on price. Obviously there still probably will be, but the pressure I don't think is going to be there like it was. And I'm not saying raise your prices to gouge people. I don't believe that that's a wise decision, but I do believe we should be able to expect full value for what we're providing at a reasonable margin that makes us profitable so we can grow our business and help more people. And, so I just, I had one of my reps come in the other day and wanted to know how much we could discount some Victory sprayers for somebody. So it was like, I almost got my paintball gun out,
Yeah, Maverick, I think one of those was sold on eBay for thousands of dollars, I believe, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And like I say, I don't believe in that either, but we haven't increased our prices on anything, but I certainly don't believe we should be discounting, nor do I believe anybody else in our business should be discounting at levels that we probably may have done before. So
I think that's really important to talk about, because really, when you look at it before, we were really we were getting into the commodity.
Yeah, we were belittled. Our business was belittled and stripped down to price. And,
Right,
you know, we
exactly.
were guilty of letting that happen as a whole, as a group, you know, as an industry. And now, you know, we've got an opportunity to change that. And I don't think anybody's gonna, you know, have an issue with it. I don't think people that are trying to get hospitals clean are gonna be upset with us because our price isn't as low as it was, you know, 90 days ago. So
And I think that's a mindset that we all have to believe in and understand, because if you truly believe that we are doing the right services for our customers and helping them be, not selling them the products, but really providing them a healthier, safer, cleaner environment, because that's going to keep their customers and their employees safe. And if you truly believe that, you're doing a disservice to not only yourself, but to them. One, that you're not providing conversation at a higher level to the real decision makers who understand that. And then also, if you're lowering your price when you don't necessarily need to. So that's where I think we've got to change that conversation of how we communicate that to those higher level decision makers, because they understand how important it is to keep their employees safe, because it's going to cost them money otherwise too.
right. And my experience has been, when you're talking with you know, the top of the org chart, they ask about cost or price for informational purposes only. Like,
Right.
I
Correct.
just want to know how much I need to write the check for, right? It's
Right.
not like I'm going to shop this because, you know, I'm convinced this is what we need to do. So, you know, they're just not motivated by price. I mean, if you get caught speeding, shame on you. I mean, you know, that's not right either. But you know, like, it's exactly what you said. If you believe you're helping them, what value can you put on that? I mean,
Right. Exactly.
so
Exactly. Matter of fact, it's interesting because we showed, I think, you've seen the ISSA numbers, 2018 numbers, showed our average gross margin in our industry went from 28% down to 24%, which is huge drop. That's a massive drop. You know, and I think back to your comment earlier is that we commoditize that because of those players out there.
yeah,
Now is the opportunity for us to actually provide that service because they're willing to listen. I've heard many of our members and distributors out there are actually, their margins have increased just due to the demand that's needed out there.
yep.
So, very good. Okay, so you know, let's talk a little bit about a marketplace. You know, tell me how did you determine your market strategies? You know, what are you focused on, and where do you see your growth over the next year or so?
Well, I mean, I think our growth is going to come from new business. I mean, not necessarily new buildings opening up, but more prospects that will move to Bruco versus other choices they've had in the past that can't deliver on what we've been talking about, or chose not to. But you know, specifically right now, I mean, after the first week of madness with runs on toilet paper and all that kind of stuff we went through, it became real obvious to us that, you know, grocery stores were not hurting right now. Building service contractors are not hurting, right? They're going crazy just like we are. And so in the short term, you know, those were a couple areas that we focused on because they needed help. I mean, they were getting slammed. They you know, how do we keep the store clean? They're trying to do all the things that other businesses and organizations will do as they open up. Grocery stores are trying to do that on the fly, right? And so, and they got cash coming out of their ears. So, you know, obviously it's probably somebody you want to be visiting with. And so, you know, it's kind of, how do you look at it right now, this week, today? And then what's going to change on Monday, right? So there's some of that, but then long term, it's, at least for us, we feel it's going to be, you know, being the resource that organizations are looking for that aren't getting it from some of the logos we looked at earlier.
Mhm.
You know, they've hitched their wagon to Supply Works or, you know, HD Supply for the last year or two, and now they're, you know, kind of abandoned.
Interesting.
And so I think that's where a lot of growth should come from.
I'm not sure if you have these numbers with you, but when you look at your current business and your market segments that you currently work in, how is that spread out in regard to education, you know, government, building service contractors, school, you know, whatever? Do you have an understanding of where that's at?
I do.
I'm just kind of curious, is it certain areas?
No, we're very similar to the rest of the industry as far as that breakout. You know, education, you know, K through 12 is big. Healthcare is probably the next biggest.
Okay.
Building service contractors, industrial, and then it kind of just segments after that, you know.
Right.
So very similar to the industry in that regard.
So do you see any of those specific segments growing faster than others, or that's where I'm kind of trying to go with this?
Well, building service contractors, I think, will be huge. You know, they were already kind of exploding, you know, over the last 3 to 5 years. So I think that's going to continue. And healthcare, I don't know what's going to happen with healthcare because, you know, they're kind of getting their butts kicked right now. You would think it would be the opposite, but yeah, I mean, I don't know that I have a crystal ball into how, you know, and schools kind of scare the hell out of me too a little bit because you think about it, I don't want these people to get too good at distance learning.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly.
Right. So, you know, we talked about that a little bit last night with some of the board members. You know, not so much in Montana and Wyoming have I seen this, but I think about Chicago or New York City or Houston, where downtown urban area where there's however many, you know, high rises,
Right.
and now they start telling, you know, people with last names in the first half of the alphabet to come to work on even days and
Yes.
other people come on odd days. Well, that's a 50% reduction in occupants. That's a 50% reduction in towels and tissue, and right. So I think we've got to be somewhat thinking about how that could impact us too. And, you know, maybe in some areas it will have little or no impact. In some areas it could be huge. But I just don't know. Who knows what's going to happen?
We had a conversation earlier this morning about schools, and I think Dan Wagner had spoken with the superintendent, and you know, we thought, of course, the first thing that's going to be on his mind is cleanliness. Well, the first thing on his mind was not. It was about school stuff, right? You know, how are the kids going to learn? What's going to happen with graduations and those type of things? So I almost wonder if it's really going to be up to us in some ways to be able to communicate that we can help them provide that safer environment so that they can go back to schools full time. We can help their businesses have that safer environment so they can bring everybody back in a way.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if you had any specific strategies that you guys were utilizing towards, you know, certain marketplaces or anything like that.
No, I mean, nothing specific. We're still, you know, pretty small. I mean, so it's kind of hard to create, you know, strategies for each different industry, at least for us. You know, I am doing more advertising than I've ever done. Just kind of with the thought being, if not now, when, right? So,
Right.
but you know, it's hard to measure that too. So.
Yeah. So, you know what, the market's becoming, you know, a lot more, quote, clean sensitive, you know, message changing. And tell me what you're hearing from your customers. What do you think that they will expect in their services and consultation from you?
Well, I mean, we're already getting those questions on a daily basis of, how do we do this, or how should we go about? I mean, we had a Caterpillar dealer come in, and they're kind of like totally lost because now there's service techs who go out and work on the $2 million piece of equipment. They have to totally, or at least they want them to totally disinfect or sanitize all of the operations of that bulldozer or whatever it is. So you got to get in the cab, clean everything down, and that's, you may not realize it, but there's a lot of high tech stuff in there. So they're, what can we spray on there or not, and how do we, what's the best process for wiping down, and what do we do with the rags afterwards? And so it's just, things they'd never even thought about before.
Right.
And so, you leverage the knowledge you have of that. It's not like it's any different from going into a patient room and wiping down the equipment in there. Right. So it's just, transferring that knowledge that we have for maybe one market segment and leveraging it in another where they're maybe new to that type of process.
So, of course, the easiest process is of people wanting wipes and hand sanitizer, and that's challenging to get. Do you have any other suggestions and ideas that you guys are using of different products that like to help Caterpillar guys clean down their machines and stuff?
Well, yeah, I mean, when you talk about sourcing product, we're getting stuff. I mean, I got some countertop, like, I don't know what you call them, but the screens like you're seeing at a lot of retail stores, the plexiglass.
Uh-huh.
I got some of those from a billboard company, just to have them, just to offer to people that we serve that may need them.
Right.
Like the example that I gave you with the Caterpillar dealer, normally it would be, well, you use a microfiber, it's pre-treated, well, with them, it's like, hey, you've got all these wipers, right? You've got all these KC wipe alls or, Sellers or Torque or whatever it is. Let's put those in a bucket. Let's put some disinfectant in it. Let's pre-treat them. Let's wipe down what we need to wipe down and throw them away, right? So, just doing what we got to do right now to help people. And, I've put out some videos some of you may have seen, and I just said, hey, here's what we recommend, but right now you can't get that stuff. So if you got to do it this way for now, it's better than nothing. But it's not what we would want you to do long term. And so we just trying to help people adjust, try and, think outside of our industry boxes, if you will, and, look for new, different things to try and help people, clean their buildings. So
it sounds like you've actually brought in some new products that you would not normally have done to kind of help your customer with those screens, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm sure everybody's got masks or has them on order, right? And a high percentage of us never ordered those before. I never did.
Yeah.
But now when you think about it, it's like, yeah, we should have had those on the shelf, because there's certain things that custodians, housekeepers, and janitors do every day where it wouldn't hurt to have one of those on.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So, yeah, we've reusable gloves, reusable nitro gloves is something we sourced, but they won't last long. But it's better than nothing for right now. Yeah. So,
how are your reps, with that, we're doing a Zoom call here. Are your reps doing stuff like that, or how are they communicating with their customers consistently, or do you have a plan for them? What's your messaging?
Yeah, I mean, I encourage them to use Zoom or something, Teams or whatever. Zoom just seems to be built out better right now for everything. The idea is, and this isn't unique to Bruco, obviously, but for those of us in rural markets like Treats, folks in West Texas, obviously Montana, Steins in North Dakota, we've always had a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah.
and a lot of times you cover that ground to go to a small school, you know, and that's expensive. And so, you know, part of me thinks, gosh, why didn't we use this before? But now it's okay. Like before it was like, well, if you're not going to come out and see me with a case of donuts, you know, we're not going to buy from you. Well, you know, now it's like, hey, Zoom meeting works for us. You know, they're more than happy. So I've encouraged my guys to use it. I put a little spiff out on Zoom meetings because you can record them. So I said, hey, you record the session, send it to me, and I'll pay out a little spiff. And I'm doing that for the first 3 meetings they do, and by then they should be comfortable with it. So,
Good.
but it's more sales and less time, right?
Right, being more efficient, right? Being more efficient and effective that way.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. It's really important. As a matter of fact, you know, as we all know, time is probably the most thing that we have the least of. And so, especially in sales, if you have a lot of windshield time, you've got to be really effective with your time. And so I think we're much more open now. They're going to be much more open to doing more this type of meeting.
Right. Yep.
So, any other things that you want to, you know, talk about or share with what's going on with Bruco and how you've affected in a positive way with this COVID and where you're heading to?
You know, I mean, I think there's huge opportunity. The one thing I would say is, you know, if you haven't gotten in front of your staff with that message yet, if it's kind of just been, hey, if it's just been kind of about supply chain issues for the last 60 days and chasing product and getting it in and getting out to the customer, you know, I would encourage you to get in front of your staff, whether it's via Zoom or whatever, to remind them that, you know, this should be a really good thing for us, even though we might be feeling some pain right now. You know, this is the moment we've all been waiting for, as far as I'm concerned. It's just, you know, there's a few little bumps along the way. You know, the flip side of the opportunity is empty buildings that we've had for 45 days.
Right.
You know, that's really a challenge for our industry, but obviously that will not last forever. So if we can get through the short-term challenge, you know, the sky should be the limit for the entire industry. I mean, just this is what we've kind of always thought about and wanted to have in front of us, and here it is. So
I would agree with you. And matter of fact, going on back to Coach Brooks, right, or Russell in the movie video that you shared, because it's a great moment for great opportunity right now.
Mhm.
I think we've really got to take advantage of it. We can't do what we did before. We've got to be able to communicate the message that we've talked about kind of this whole session of getting to that C level, that higher level, you know, and making sure that we can talk subject matter experts to help them understand that we're there to protect them. We're not there just to provide them products. We're there to protect and serve them, to make sure that their employees and their teams are protected. And actually, if you guys don't use it now, you know, there's tools out there that we can help track. You know, there's, you know, Wagner developed the Gateway program, tracking purposes, to be able to provide what the actual results are out there, because those are things that we're going to have to set those expectations up with those end users also. If we're providing that type of service, are we getting the results that they need, and how do we track that and quantify that for them? So that's really great. You know, Adam, you know, I guess the last thing that I'll ask you is that, you know, you guys, in the last few sessions, we've all talked about your communications with other members, right? And especially yours with the first executive development program. Maybe you can just share the importance that you have seen communicating with other SSS members during this process.
yeah, I mean, the cohort 1 has been kind of the I don't know how to put it, maybe the all-stars of communicating in the SSS network for the last 2 months, because it's just been constant. I mean, I don't know how many different email chains there are between all of us. You know, but there's been ideas bounce back and forth. There's been, just some venting from time to time. A few inappropriate messages from Joe Ellis, but we can get over that. No, it's probably mostly for me, not Joe. But when the PPP loans came out and that whole just a lot of, what are you hearing? What are these banks telling you versus that bank or whatever? And so, I think a lot of it was, I don't know if I would say emotional, but some of it's kind of seemed like that. Like,
Sure.
things are just going crazy, and we're having problems with this, and it's nice to just hear other people are dealing with it too, and keep your chin up and go out and get them tomorrow. And so a lot of it was just simply that. But there's been some product move back and forth between some members when one needed help and the other could. I think I've got some spray bottles floating around in Oklahoma that say Bruco on them. So, just a lot of different things that way that have been really valuable from a Triple S membership standpoint.
Yeah, I think that's something I just kind of keep emphasizing, because there's 115 of us out there, and all the different DSRs, over 600 DSRs out there. It's time for you to communicate and help each other out, because getting back to it, now's the time to take that opportunity to beat that competition and help each other out. So if you have issues, look towards another Triple S member if you need to, and somebody in the industry who you can feel that you can trust.